In this video, I'll give you a step-by-step process on how to remove and install new front wheel bearings on the Nissan Pathfinder. We can't always choose what time of year we need to fix things, but I did notice a rumble that I would consider a textbook wheel bearing rumble, and I was able to isolate it to the front wheel bearings. They were working on a 2002, but Nissan used these same bearings from 87 to 04. The next generation of Pathfinder got the unserviceable sealed hub. This is a really handy tool. So this is the bearing nut tool. So this is what we're going to use to pack the bearings with. You'll notice that each part produced by Timken has their name and the part number etched onto it. So you just want to make sure you're getting genuine product. This particular vehicle is fitted with manual hubs. If you have a stock Pathfinder, you'll notice you have a little steel hubcap like this that has to come off. For the manual hubs, the manual hub mechanism is the hubcap. That's what seals it. And it's got a gasket in there, so you have to remove all the bolts that are holding it in place. And then you'll see you've got a little gasket that comes out. The hub part still has the same 6 hub nuts holding it in place. This vehicle's fitted with a spacer. Turns out I didn't need to do this, but I did remove one of the spacers. The other one I just left it on. It does not interfere with anything. To remove these hub nuts, just lock things in place here with a bar. And we'll need to hang the caliper out of harm's way so we don't stress the brake line. There's a couple of 22mm bolts that have to come off. Then I just hang it on the strut spring to de-stress the brake line. And the snap ring comes off the axle. If the hub is a little bit stuck in place, you can just pry it with something. Just be careful. Don't damage the seal, or in this case, the gasket. And then holding the nut in place in its adjusted position is this lock ring. And it's got a couple of screws holding it in place. And we'll just pull that out of the way. And now we're ready to use our little special nut tool and just spin the nut off. Now, if you're just doing a repack, you just want to be careful. Don't damage anything if you're going to reuse your bearings. Today, we're not. We know there's damage. If you hear your bearings, they're probably damaged and you're going to have to replace them. We can clearly see, looking at it, this surface is burned. So it's a good thing we're replacing everything. And we'll just clean up our wheel speed sensor. Looks like the tone ring is in good shape. So we'll just clean up everything. Now, to get the seal out, you're going to do this from the outside. I like to use a wood blow because it prevents damage in case you are going to reuse your bearing. The wood just is a little bit easier on the bearing, and the bearing is what knocks the seal out. So now, with that out of the way, you can see we have cutouts here. You want to just be patient. We are not going to reuse any of these bearing parts, so we have to remove them. So just use a flat punch, move from side to side, be patient. Don't try to do one side all at once. Just go back and forth. I'm speeding this up, save you guys a little bit of time. And you'll notice we're taking the smaller outer race out first, and that's actually necessary to make room for getting the larger inner bearing race out. Just makes the cutouts more accessible. And when you're removing these, sometimes you'll accidentally score the surface with the flat punch. If it does, you may need to sand it and dress it up a little bit before you put the races back in. So when you're done removing these, run your finger along the inside of the surface. Now the tone ring, sometimes you get a little bit of debris in there and it doesn't work as well with the wheel sensor. So if you clean that up, things will function a little bit better. Also, if you had to dress up any of the surfaces, just make sure you clean things off real well before you grease them up for receiving the new bearing races. And to do that, we're going to need a bearing driver kit. And this was very inexpensive and extremely useful for driving in the new bearing races onto the hub. You've got a drift handle that screws on to the driver heads. So just grease up the surface, get your race in there ready. The one that worked well for the smaller outer bearing was a 65mm. Take your drift handle, screw it onto the driver head. And a couple of light blows, get it started. Make sure it's straight when it starts. And once it's got a good start, you can finish it. You'll know when you hit bottom, you can feel it and you can hear it. But just to be safe, check all the way around, make sure that bearing race has gone all the way home. And then we'll Flip it over, also inspect it. Now we're ready to grease up the surface and receive the larger inner race. And for this one, 76mm was the driver head that worked. So again, we'll just go ahead and screw the drift handle onto it. A couple of light taps to get it started straight. And once you've got it started, you can finish it, and same as before. Once that thing hits bottom, you'll know it, you'll feel it, you'll be able to hear it. And you can do an inspection and you can see the races all the way home. Now to pack the bearings, one side of this is a lot larger than the other, and there's a lot of airspace in that roller cage, and we're going to fill it with this grease. And you'll notice all the grease in my hand magically disappears. And you'll also notice I'm using a brand new pair of gloves so I don't pack any dirt into the bearing. Once you get the backside filled, flip it over. It's a smaller opening, but we're still going to pack it. And this grease is great because what this grease allows you to do, it sticks very well to these rollers. So once you think you've got it packed, spin the bearing a little bit, and you'll notice that the rollers pull in a little bit more grease, and you can just get a little bit more packed in there. And do that for all 4 of the bearings. And then we've got our large inner race ready to go. You have to do the inners first and put the seal on. So to get the seal on, just grease it up. And you'll notice these seals have a tensioner spring, and you don't want to damage that. So what works well for me is I just lay it down. I take the old seal, flip it upside down, put it on top. Then I give a couple of good blows to get it started. And that may do the job, but if it doesn't, just finish it off. And now this is fully seated. And the hub shaft is all cleaned up and greased up. It's ready to receive the greased up seal. And you want to be mindful of that seal. So be careful. The seal has to engage, and you don't want to damage it. So what works for me is just put the roller bearing in for the outer. And while you're pressing it, rotate the rotor. And keep an eye on it. You'll notice it keeps going further on. One more time. Now it's all the way engaged with the seal on the backside without damage. So now we're ready to start the bearing nut. And I go backwards first, get it to start, and then it should screw on with very little resistance. You don't want to cross thread this one. And once it's snug, hand snug, this is going to feel a little bit uneasy, but you're actually going to put a fairly strong torque on this, and that's just going to set the bearing and make sure all the pieces are all the way home. Nissan recommends 58 to 72. I put about 60 foot-pounds on there. And once you've got that, you're going to unscrew it, loosen it up, and now we're ready to adjust the bearing. Now you can put about 13 inch-pounds or a little over 1 foot-pound on there. I prefer to just sort of do it by hand. Remember, this grease is cold, it's stiff, and these are brand new bearings. They will seat a little bit on early use. Now this lock ring, it's got a bunch of different holes. Hopefully 2 of them will line up. Some people say if they don't, you can flip it over and the alignment will change. That didn't do the trick in this case, so we're going to actually have to change the position of the bearing nut. Now for brand new bearings, I tend toward more snug. So you'll notice I just slightly tighten this nut. That's it. And we'll see if that's enough. Yep, sure enough, we have alignment for 2 of the holes, so we can put our set screws in. We're ready to clean up our gasket surface. Definitely clean up the brake rotor. There's going to be grease all over it. Clean the front side. Make sure you clean the back side real well. So we need to put the hub back on, and whether it's a manual hub or a standard, the torque on the 6 nuts is the same. It's about 20 foot-pounds. Make sure you check the video description for all the torques and parts for this job. Now we're ready to put the snap ring on, and if the groove isn't visible, well, just reach around, pull your axle back out. Now you've got your groove visible. We can put our snap ring in place, and once that's on, axle can't go anywhere. And we'll get our cap back on. In this case, our hub cap is the mechanism for the manual hub. And we'll do that in a cross pattern to seal the gasket. Of all the manual hub designs that are out there, I chose this design because it integrates so well with the factory 17-inch wheels that are on the vehicle. And since we have a manual hub, we can check function. If I lock it up, it engages the axle, and if I unlock it, it spins free. Looks like that's working well. And whenever I pull a spacer off, I reinstall it as if new. I definitely remove all the oxidation with a wire brush. And we can unhang the caliper, retorque down the 22mm bolts that hold that on. And after a final rotation check, looks like this was a good repair. If this helped you guys out, please do give a thumbs up and subscribe for future videos. And to help out anybody else trying to replace these, please do share this video. Thanks for watching.